There is only one thing sweeter than finding out about a totally new RTS game, and that is finding out you can actually already play that game right now. So here is the gameplay from the current active playtest of Crimson Freedom, which will be up on Steam until the 14th of December, and you can sign up using the link in the description. The playtest itself is limited to a skirmish match on one map with two factions, of which you get to play as Red Rebellion against the Orbis Concordia faction, which is played by the game's AI. Yes, I know, it is not a major demo with a lot of content, like for example Heroes of Might and Magic Olden Era demo, which has totally spoiled all of us. But let's dig into what is available here. The Red Rebellion faction is actually an offshoot of Orbis Concordia. These are miners who fled Earth system, modifying their mining tools into weapons to fight for a new life. And now, on the red sands of Mars, they are going up against the Sol system's peacekeepers, the Orbis Concordia, who are guided by the belief that too much freedom leads to chaos. There is a third faction in development called Ascentix. This is a cutting-edge tech company which came to Mars with plans to shape humanity's future by fusing together human potential with technology as their vision for future evolution. Obviously, this is a sci-fi RTS, but the technology level is not too far advanced, so guns, lasers, missiles, bombs and shells are the staple weapons. The gameplay so far follows the old-school RTS mantra to the letter. You start with an HQ and a constructor unit near a resource field, and immediately hear the superb voiceover quality of unit callouts. There are two different resources implemented in this version, called Ruby 5 and Power. The former is the crimson-colored resource visible next to the base, hence the name of the game most likely, and the latter is produced by flash thumpers you can construct. There is also a third resource called Scrap, but it wasn't part of this playtest. The distillery is a resource refinement building and is constructed with a big mama collector unit, which sets off to work, and you can recruit additional harvesters in the workshop building. For a small, independent team, I find these animations on both units and buildings satisfying and cool to watch, but I would love to read your opinions on them in the comments. Once you construct the Den, which is this faction's barracks, you get to start recruiting your first units, consisting of a trooper with a drilling tool modified into a gun, and one with a backpack full of throwable frag explosives. They are actually named accordingly as Driller and Frag. As you notice, there is a third unit, but that one requires going up one tech level with the construction of a research facility named Cabin. This one, just like the second tech building named Shack of all things, requires not just Ruby 5 but also mentioned Power. Interestingly enough, in Crimson Freedom, devs opted to make power not a constant resource of which you increase and take up capacity, but a resource you stock up on and spend. I must admit, I can't remember off the top of my head any other game which used power like this, but if you remember one, do let me know in the comments. The only defensive building of the Red Rebellion faction in this playtest is the Scrap Fort Bunker, which has room for 6 infantry units and can be repaired by the constructor. This can even happen automatically if you research one of the available tech upgrades in the Cabin research facility. The one thing I should mention about other similar tech unlocks or upgrades is that some are just percentage-based increases, but others unlock new weapons or attack types for units. I hope the full game will also have some that give them additional functionality. When it comes to the vehicles, besides the Scout, there is a transport vehicle which turns into a bunker after getting destroyed, an anti-infantry assault vehicle, and a sort of laser-equipped tank which turns into a turret once destroyed. That is the kind of extra functionality I am talking about. One thing that bothered me were the always-on health bars, especially since they are segmented and turned my mini-army into a Christmas tree. Minor annoyance, but gets in the way of spectacle. The map itself looks interesting, especially because of additional buildings, materials and equipment spread around it, but it did follow a very geometrical segmentation thing that makes such maps so very artificial looking. I have noticed a number of other players mentioning the gameplay in units feeling slow, but as this was just my first time playing, I was fine with it. I'm sure that if this was multiplayer or after I got used to skirmish, I too would get the feeling of needing everything to be faster and quicker. Interestingly enough, in some situations, units create a formation as they move, even a mixed army with vehicles and infantry, while in other situations they would get strung out and end up going into a fight almost single file. Definitely something that has to work better in future versions. I could list features that players think are not implemented, like attack move, shift-clicking orders, ordering units from multiple recruitment buildings at the same time, but some of these are just not using the expected key combinations. Control plus right-click is the attack move, while Alt plus right-click is for adding multiple orders. Considering there are no options for keys and devs didn't post this on Steam, it is natural people thinking these are missing. Next, I want to talk about other must-have working gameplay elements for RTS games. For example, the pathfinding and avoidance, which can be easily tested, as you can see here, as I make some of my units try to pass each other in different directions. They are jostling vehicles and even pushing them about, which isn't really an ideal way to solve this. Since I know many of my viewers are professional or amateur game developers, feel free to express your opinions on this or my test for that matter. Anyway, as we get to the end of this playthrough, I can say that so far Crimson Freedom looks to be on the right track when it comes to basic gameplay elements of base building, resource collection and unit combat. And the developers told me they are preparing another playtest really soon, during which you will be able to play some of their campaign missions. They will also try to incorporate as much feedback we have given them as possible. So even if you missed out on this playtest, don't worry, you will be able to try out Crimson Freedom again very soon. RTS games are notoriously difficult to make and get right, especially when it comes to hitting the right balance of fun versus depth. Then again, that can be very subjective, which is why I love to engage and talk to both developers and players like you in both comments and on my own Discord. So I hope you will try out Crimson Freedom's playtest and share with me and its developers your impressions in either of our Discord servers, links to which you will find in the description of this video, along with links to more videos about new and upcoming RTS games. Thank you for watching and happy gaming!